Lecture 2, Connecting to Data. In this video, you'll learn how to connect Tableau Prep to a data source using the Input step. You can connect to a wide variety of data sources, including files such as Microsoft Excel and databases like Snowflake or SQL Server. Using a step-by-step approach, here you'll learn how to connect to and remove data sources from your flow, use the Wildcard union function to ingest multiple tables or sheets using a single input step, use data sampling for efficient flow design, change data types, change field names, filtering input data, combining multiple inputs, and saving your flow as a flow or a packaged flow file. So, save the attached lesson resources and let's get started. Go ahead and open up Tableau Prep. The opening screen shows the usual expected items, like recent flow samples and Tableau's Discover pane on training and other educational resources. To create a new flow, simply click on Connect to Data. This will expand the sidebar and allow you to select from a wealth of compatible resources. For this exercise, let's select Microsoft Excel. Navigate to the folder where you've saved this lesson's resources and open the sales.xlsx file. Note, the connection is now listed in the sidebar with the name of your Excel file as the name of the connection. Below, we see the sheet names in this Excel file. In this case, we have a sheet for each year ranging from 2015 to 2019. Go ahead and drag the 2015 sheet to the canvas to make that sheet the actual input into the flow. Notice how the canvas is split. At the top, we now see the input tool on the flow pane. At the bottom, we see the options related to this tool as it is currently selected. Let's go over these options. Some are quite basic, but it's good to cover them at least once. First up, the Multiple Files tab. By default, the input is set to a single table. Suppose you'd want all the sheets in this Excel file to be combined. To do so, click the Wildcard union. Let's cover these new options. The Search In option allows you to set the file path where your files are located. This is in case you not just want to include all the Excel sheets, but combine multiple Excel files in a single step. Tableau Prep will include all Excel files in this location which meet the matching pattern. By default, this is set to the exact file name we're using, but we can alter this. For example, if we wanted to include all Excel files, we could type *.xls and all the files would then be included. For this exercise, let's leave it to the current file name, so no other files are picked up. Next, we can decide which sheets to include or exclude. By default, there is no expression here, meaning all sheets, in this case 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19, will be combined. We could amend this to exclude one particular sheet, 2019 for example, by setting sheets to exclude and then the pattern to 2019. And you'll notice it disappears from the list of sheets in scope. In our case, we do want all sheets, so let's remove that exclusion pattern and 2019 appears back in the list. Unlike some changes in Tableau Prep, which are instantly, here we need to click Apply to make the change. So go ahead and click Apply right now. We're now combining data from all these sheets in this Excel file in just one easy step. Notice that Tableau added two fields to our dataset, file paths and table names. These two new fields are automatically added when doing a wildcard union, and it helps us to tell where each row originally came from. Next, let's focus on this pane here. It provides a neat list of all the fields found in the 2015 sheet. Store ID, transaction date, an ID, department, the amount, and the retailer loyalty card ID. We can uncheck any of the fields that we don't need, so it's excluded from the flow. In the type column, we can see the data type as detected by Tableau Prep. Clicking on this field allows you to change the data type if appropriate. For example, store ID has been set to a number, but is actually a dimension. Go ahead and set this to string right now. If you wish to change the name of a field, you can do so by double-clicking the field name and setting a new name. Let's go ahead and separate the individual words in the field names. So we get store ID, transaction date, transaction ID, amount, and loyalty card ID. Notice how the original field names remain visible in this column, giving you a handy overview. The Changes field shows you the icons of the types of changes we have made for each field, renaming and changing the data type for store ID, and renaming all the fields except department. You'll also notice these same icons above the input tool in the flow itself. Finally, the last column provides us with a couple of values from the 2015 sheet, so we can see at a glance the kind of data contained in this sheet. So we made a couple of changes now, and in large flows it can become hard to remember what changes you've applied to all the various tools. Luckily, Tableau Prep provides this great changes pane. Go ahead and click on the Changes tab to view all the changes you made to this input tool. Let's say we want to undo the very first change, where we altered the data type for store ID. Using the Changes pane, we can simply click the X to delete this step, without affecting any of the other changes we made after that. Go ahead and try it out. In this case, we do want to set store ID to string, so let's click the back button to go back one step, and there we see the change coming back. Next, let's look at the filter function. Suppose we want to exclude all transactions without a loyalty card ID. To filter your data, you need to write an expression. Go ahead and click Filter Values to bring up the filter dialog. If you have any experience working with Tableau Desktop, these functions will be very familiar to you already. If not, Tableau Prep provides great examples of each function. Just click the function name to see an example on the right. To exclude all rows in our data without a loyalty card ID, let's write up the following expression. Not is null, open bracket, loyalty card ID, close bracket. Notice how the filter is applied at the bottom of the changes list. If we would run this flow right now, all rows without a loyalty card ID would be excluded. As simple as that. However, we do want all rows, so let's go to the Changes panel and remove this filter by clicking the X symbol. Next up, click the Data Sample to see the sampling options. By default, Tableau Prep considers the appropriate sample size for you based on the size and structure of your data. Tableau Prep does so in a smart way so that the application stays fast and you can quickly develop a flow. Imagine if your data was several billion rows and Tableau Prep had to ingest the entire data set first. Things would probably take a little bit longer, and most of the time a smaller sample is sufficient during development. When you do run your workflow, the entire dataset will always be used. If you wish to amend the sample size, you can easily use these radio buttons to either use all data or set a fixed number of rows. For now, let's stay with the default sample amount. Also note the sampling method. By default, Tableau Prep will be set to Quick Select, which grabs the sample set from the connected file or database in whatever the fastest way is for this particular connection type. For some, this just may be the first rows that appear in the data. If you want a truly random sample, you can select the Random Sample option. But when you do that, especially when connected to large databases, you may experience a little slowness as this function typically requires more resources to process. Lastly, let's save our flow. You can save the flow in one of two ways. One, as a Tableau flow file, which is just the steps in your flow, or two, as a packaged Tableau flow file. The difference is the actual data from your source is included in the packaged flow file. While this is a great option, be careful not to create packaged flow files for extremely large data sources, as the file size may become prohibitive. In neither format is the source data itself, in this case the Excel file, included or amended in any way. Go ahead and save this flow as Lecture 2, Connecting to Data. In this video, you've learned the first step essential to any Tableau prep workflow, connecting to data, combining multiple files, tables or sheets, changing data types and field names, including or excluding fields, filtering data, and understanding how and why sampling is applied. The input tool is simple but packs some really powerful features and is by and large the same across many different data source types. Now that you understand how the tool works with an Excel file, you'll feel right at home when you're connected to another file type such as CSV or a database like Microsoft SQL Server. In the next video, we'll take a closer look at the data itself using the Step tool.